Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, we're on.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I've been very busy, but I'm coming in hot.
Yeah. I feel you on that one, man. So, uh, episode 20. This should be the podcast. 2-0. That's pretty good. Look at that.
Yeah,
We made it.
yeah.
I never thought.
What's the
No.
average half life of your typical couple of white dudes starting a podcast before they give up?
Oh, good Lord. I bet it's only like 6. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Right.
guessing. I have
You
no
get like a
clue.
bunch of guys, dude. We should totally do a podcast because you're all the time talking about the game and coming up with these good points and stuff. So we should do this. Did you see that Family Guy? Oh no, I showed it to you, or did you show it to me?
Probably yes.
I don't know. It was like they were all
don't
sitting
know.
around the bar, and then they're like, "Guys, everybody's doing a
Oh, yeah.
podcast."
Yeah.
And then it gets to like Cleveland or something, telling a story, and everybody falls asleep, and they're like,
Well, hopefully this isn't like
"That's
yeah,
what
the
everybody
Cle-
thinks
the,
of
the,
us."
the Cleveland show. Here we go. Some of my favorite stupid Family Guy cutaways were from like the earlier seasons, and they would just show like this stupid British guy who like would like would just take all the air out of the moment. I think his name
Oh,
was like
yeah.
Buzz Killington or something, and then Peter would just be like, he'd just be with this big long sigh and like the breath, like It's like I used that as a meme for like the longest time. Like I would just take this YouTube clip and insert that in like Facebook comments for years. There's Peter going,
Yeah.
"Ah."
The kids today don't realize the hilariousness of the overly exaggerated, like when he like hits his knee and he like sits there for like 20 seconds. He's like, I did that today when like Avi was doing something to me, and like she like I poked her leg, and then she poked my leg, and I like immediately overreacted and like freaked out. And everyone's like, what's wrong with Dad? And then the dog ran over like he was concerned. I'm like,
You guys obviously are not up to date on your Family Guy seasons 1 through 6.
well,
Killing me.
I like to think I'm a good parent.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, let's start the show on a sad note, Dan. I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but I wanted to throw it up there for Turd Ferguson, man. It's a bummer.
Yeah,
Norm Macdonald died. That's sad. I didn't even know. Like I hid that stuff. He was sick, or I didn't know he was sick. Not that
Yeah.
if I didn't know it, it was hidden, but I don't think it was common knowledge that he was sick.
Well, he didn't seem like a person who was really into like
Sharing that kind of stuff.
blabbing about all kinds of stuff. He'd rather just kind of do his own thing.
Yeah, but I went down a little Norm Macdonald YouTube rabbit hole clip thing this afternoon. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it really makes you think about like how I've been thinking this for years about how like everybody has like this golden age of SNL like in their mind. So like people of our parents' generation, they're like, oh, Dan Aykroyd and
Yeah,
Jane Curtin and all these people, like Candy Graham, like, and Jeff, like all these in jokes that they have from like 1979, and then like people who are like, I guess like my sister's generation, like Gen X, and they're kind of like, no, it was Sandler and Farley, like all those guys, and then like for people like us, it's more like Will Ferrell and Norm Macdonald and like Tim Meadows and all those guys. It's like it's whenever you're like 18 to 22. Is whatever you think is like the greatest period.
I bet that's probably accurate for most. I liked the Sandler and Farley era better.
That breaks the mold a little bit because early 90s, pretty much all of the 90s was great.
But that was like more in like my, I don't know, very early teens. I stopped watching SNL probably when I was like 18 or something like that.
I guess
Which
you're
I
right.
did.
Yeah, because I was probably like 13, 14, 15. My parents would go to bed at like, 10 or whatever. So I'd stay up on Saturday Night Live.
But the Will Ferrell stuff,
good.
like that era was great. Like I was part of that. That was
Really,
like the last stuff I watched.
The entirety of the Clinton administration, moving into like Bush's first term.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, Norm Macdonald on Weekend Update was freaking hilarious. That's just peak Norm Macdonald, man. Just dumb panning and stupid one-liners and real dumb jokes.
it's really hard to find like, I mean, what have they done? I mean, granted, I don't watch the show anymore, but like, they had a couple of gems over the last few years, like Black Jeopardy. Did
Yeah,
you
that
ever
was
see
pretty
that one?
funny.
Yeah, like so, like
Yes.
some of
Yep.
that stuff that like really kind of rose above. But for the most part, I remember like, I'm sorry, like if you can't even make a show of Bill Burr funny, it's like he was on there last year, and I'm like, all right, I'll tune into this, and it's like, all right,
Yeah.
who's writing? I mean, like, I don't know.
I think I watched a couple sketches of that one.
Yeah, some
Just
of it
to
was
see
pretty
it.
good. The one where they did the Sam Adams commercial
Yeah, that one was funny.
where everybody's
but-
fighting.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was pretty good.
That's low hanging fruit though. Just picking on Bostonians, man. That's easy.
Yeah,
But it's
Hey,
still
look,
funny because
Yeah,
Bill Burr.
it's like
yeah.
doing a redneck thing where like everybody's got rebel flags and like in country music. It's like really.
Yeah, I saw like one of the Norm Macdonald when he came back and hosted after. He was just he was just like, so a year and a half ago, I was fired from here. Presumably because I'm not funny. He's like, and then inexplicably, I'm back here and I'm thinking to myself, what has happened in a year and a half? Like, have I all of a sudden become more funny? He's just like, wait a minute, a year and a half is not enough time for a person to become funny. And then it dawned on me, the show has just become really terrible. And that was his opening monologue. It's just
Oh,
like,
that's great.
perfect. Good stuff. But yeah, that sucks, man. Norm Macdonald was super funny. So either way, yeah, he had a good show too, like like he was on a million people's podcasts and like other shows and stuff, like for the last few years. But it's all right. These things happen as you get older.
Good stuff. Yeah, I like to imagine there's like a three-way argument between him and Alex Trebek and Sean Connery.
Yeah,
In-
seriously,
in the
those skits were golden, man. That stuff was so good. But whatever. No one will ever do a better Burt Reynolds. It's just true. It's
Not
just
that anybody's
where
really
it's
trying, but like
at. No.
there's very few people that just sort of latch on to like a random celebrity and just be like, no, I'm gonna stake my entire like
Yeah.
legendary status on impersonating this person who peaked in 1973. It's like, and people would laugh at it, and like I never even seen a Burt Reynolds movie before I saw that, but for some reason it was funny.
I know, man. Hey, we got a comment. 1.21 gigawatts. All right, sweet.
There
Little
we
Back
go.
to the Future reference from Daryl Anderson. Thank you, sir. I was talking to somebody today about, gosh, I think we were kind of talking about the Norm Macdonald thing and like past ages and how long ago things were. And I forget what they said. And it made me think of like a quote that comes up. Well played, sir. Like if you look at like Back to the Future now, like 30 years, like it's like 1985 and 1955, like Back to the Future was made now, it would be set in 1991. You're just like, oh my God, really? Is that
I
really
mean,
true? Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't. There was rumors that they were going to remake it with like Tom Holland,
Oh
the guy,
no.
the guy who plays
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and I don't know where. that
Actually,
was
wouldn't be a
going.
that'd be a pretty good Marty McFly, but
Yeah, no, he would be great. He's great, but
yeah,
you,
they shouldn't do that.
My instinct is to hate the idea, but as
No,
you think
no, I
about
hate-
it, you're
yes,
like you
yes.
taking a person. I mean, if you wanted to get really like wild with it, like taking a person from 2021 and putting them in 1991. I could see there being a lot of stuff that's different, right? Like somebody who's
Oh,
used
yeah.
to like the internet and all this kind of stuff, and he's going back to 91, and there's like Rodney King stuff's going on, and like people talk about the Berlin Wall and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and he's like, you can't say that, like and he tries to tell somebody they're microaggressing against him or whatever, and it's like,
Oh no, I'm not saying you couldn't do it. It would be freaking. You couldn't be really.
what you'd
well
have
made.
you'd have to change it to where the person going back in time was like a dick, like they're the villain or something like that, or I don't know how it is. Like, no, here's how you change it
Yeah.
up. You do it to where like the protagonist is like living in 91, like the main character, and then some random like asshole shows up from 30 years in the future and stops something from happening, and then has to fix it. But then as the time he keeps like messing everything up, and so like the main character has to like stop this person. Like, can we just get you back to the future so you stop messing everything up? Anyway.
You probably have to set it in set it in 2019, so that way you can do it in 1989, and you can set that line up and be like, "Well, who's the president in 2019?" And be like, "Donald Trump." They're like, "Donald Trump,
That's
the real estate
brilliant.
mogul, the Home Alone actor." All
That
right,
would
never
be
mind.
funny. Yeah.
But that's it. That's
That'd be a good.
the only-
That one joke would be
Would it be worth it just to do the whole movie?
What?
I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever. Well,
funny.
either way, it's not 2019, it's 2021, and we got a real shit show going on here, don't we?
We're living in an authoritarian nightmare.
I mean, it's not
It's
good.
more like it's an authoritarian daydream. Let's be real.
Yeah,
It could be worse.
yeah, authoritarian erotic fantasy. Sure, erotic novel. Let's go with that. Good laugh. I don't know. Yeah, so like we're chatting about we haven't really talked about it that much, but like the Joe Biden federal mandate for vaccination for employers over 100 people.
Yeah.
Private employers over 100 people, or federal contractors and employees.
It really reminds me a lot of like Patriot Act stuff. Like in the sense where the powers that be truly believe that they're doing the right thing. And in another discussion, you could argue, is it right or is it wrong? Right? In terms of the actual policy thing that they're trying to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But what gets skirted over the fact is the fact that like the people implementing these things clearly don't care that what they're doing is clearly illegal. And that is what like I think that's what has shifted my opinion. Because like up until this point, I had basically, not being a Joseph Biden expert, up until this point, like during the whole election, I was like, look, I'm not saying he's a bad person. I just think that his opinions on how economics works are misinformed, and I think that he's catering to a lot of dangerous people and blah, blah, blah. So it's like I disagree with him on all the policy issues pretty much, but I think he's generally trying to do the right thing and he wants to be a good person. That was my way of sort of rationalizing it, you know, as a way of embracing the complexity, the fact that like, you know, Donald Trump was a horrible person, but I had to admit that I agreed with his policies average more than Biden's.
More. Okay.
Yeah, not totally, but more, you know, which is not that hard because I disagree with pretty much everything Biden does. But like now I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't even think he's trying to be good. He's just clearly being a dick. And it's like, I don't know if it's senility or, you know, dementia, or if it's just that he doesn't have the balls to stand up to all the people who are telling him what to do and like, you know, read this. And you know, nobody knows if it's like, if he's the one coming up with all this stuff, you know, deciding how to phrase things, or if it's people writing his speeches for him. Nobody knows. I can't imagine that a competent speechwriter, like who knows anything about how life in the world works, would write some of the speeches that he's giving. You know what I mean? And so it's like, there's no way to explain just blatant disregard, not only for the law, but just for the humanity of half the country. And I mean, that's the type of thing that people accuse Donald Trump of doing, but that he didn't. I mean, Donald Trump always talked crap about like the media, you know, and other politicians, you know, and stuff like that. But like Trump didn't like just blatantly, at least not that I'm aware of. I'm open to be fact checked on that. But like he didn't just blatantly insult half the country, you know, like, and just say like, you know, at least not that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm not trying to praise Donald Trump because like
no.
Because the obvious problem is that like anytime you say something negative about Joseph Biden, people think, oh, you're one of those Trump guys. I'm like, no,
well,
I'm not. It's totally possible for me to like dislike both people, but for different reasons. And just because he happens to be the president now, he's the one I'm talking crap about.
I don't know if that's not true that Donald Trump didn't insult half the country. He might have insulted half the country, but what he definitely didn't do was what Joe Biden did. Imagine if Donald Trump had gotten up on the stage, made an executive order over like that's going to affect like 80 or 100 million people, and just said, you know what, my patience is wearing thin. You know, we've been patient with you. I've been patient, but that's not going to last forever. And also, this is what we're going to do. This is what you're going to do. And if you kind of stand in my way and you got a problem with it, talking to like governors of other states saying, tell you what, try it. Try me. See what you want. Like fuck around and see what happens. That's more or less what Joe Biden just said in a speech.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, so if Donald Trump had done that, the freaking media in half the country would have been meltdown going, the fascist regime is here. Like,
right.
Like Nazi tanks are rolling over the United States.
Joe Biden
like,
is
tomorrow.
Basically being what people thought Trump was.
Yes, absolutely. It's especially in this moment.
But he gets away with it because he's a doddering old fool who doesn't, you know. And so I don't know what the problem is.
He gets away with it because the media agrees with him, so that they don't have to.
Yeah, but does nobody notice? I mean, like,
No, not
It's like
not the people.
are just. It's like everybody fell asleep in civics class. The idea of the president just wantonly doing things that are clearly unconstitutional and illegal.
Correct. Yes.
And you know, like, I don't know. It baffles me. I mean, I've been thinking about this for like the last several days. It's just like I just like how can people? So I don't know how people can support that. It's like our patience is wearing thin. We've been like, what? Who the hell?
Ooh.
I'm not responsible for your patience.
Right.
You work for us. Like
who made
the
you
hell
king?
cares how you're patient with me, a private citizen?
Right.
It just blows my mind. I get so like I don't know.
Yeah. So like unconstitutional in more than one way. So like the president doesn't have the authority just to blanket make an executive order to mandate medical decisions for a third of the country. That's not a thing that's in
for
the
private
Constitution.
companies. I mean, like maybe if you're talking about federal employees, which they already do.
I guess whatever, and I would even debate that. But yeah, you're right. Okay,
I don't even know, but like
we'll even
private employees.
Well, no, but two, yeah, but still, the chief executive isn't there to tell employees of the federal government what they can and can't do. But number two, even on top of that, even if Congress wanted to do it, there's nothing in the Constitution that, like, if Congress were to make a law that says you have to do this, that's not constitutional either. But then again, people just get around that crap. It's not like Obamacare was constitutional. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that the federal government can mandate health insurance on people, but they did that anyway, and then the courts sided with them. So you're absolutely right.
John Roberts is one of those, like, the institution must be preserved. Like, so he has to like preserve the validity of the Supreme. It's this whole thing where like, well, if we it's like I'm messing up the idea, but like somebody much smarter than me was talking about this. Like his whole thing is that like there's an institutional power with the Supreme Court, so they don't want to set the precedent of like reversing things every so often, just because of different administration or different majorities in the Supreme Court. And so what you have people holding up things that are clearly like bad decisions, just for the purpose of continuity.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take for the Supreme Court to view this thing. I mean,
yeah, you're right. And even if they do, I'm actually not very.
I mean, it's going to be probably. I mean, I would guess it might be quick because I mean, there's already lots of businesses being like, "Yeah, we're not doing that."
Yeah, it could be quick. So, like, I don't know. It's funny. I don't know how that stuff goes. Like, I don't know if you have to have standing to sue. Kind of like that Texas law we were talking about. Like, it's kind of funny that, like, the way it just got shut down so quick by the Supreme Court. They're like, oh, nobody's even sued yet. You can't just come up here and say, talk to me about this law. Like, you don't have any standing
so that raises
right now.
a question: how are they even going to enforce this thing? Like,
are
they going to have massive government massive bureaucracy checking?
What's OSHA going to? Yeah, no, is OSHA going to do that? OSHA's got like a couple thousand employees, and there's like how many I would wager out of the hundreds of millions of employees this in fact are
right. So are you going to have to, like, when you file your taxes as a business or something, like, report, I certify that all of my employees are vaccinated under the penalty of perjury, and then you have to have all of your employees sign some form so that, like, if it ever comes out, like, they just keep passing the buck down to the, what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but still,
what happens if you have 100 employees, but a lot of them are undocumented? How's that going to go?
No, you better not be call them employees if they're undocumented, Dan. You'd be in trouble.
Well, I'm just saying, but like, I mean, it's just you're talking about all these layers of, like. Oh
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, the how it would actually go down is crazy to me. Like, I don't know, but yes, yeah, this is a good point. Someone just like, I wonder how many 99-person companies are to be created, right?
Right, exactly.
Like,
I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, I got 100 employees, and it's like, all right, look,
like, sayonara, buddy.
One of you some bitches has to go.
Yeah.
It's like you throw one. It's like you get all everybody in a room and you throw one knife into the floor and then you shut the floor. Yeah, 100 men enter, 99 men leave.
It's that scene in Dark Knight or whatever.
Oh, that's what it was. I was trying to think of that.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, that's the logical consequence of that. I mean, that'll happen for sure. I mean, or you can. I mean, but that's a total game. Like, who's right on the cusp of 100? It's so stupid. More people will probably.
Hey, why 100?
Yep. Who the hell knows? It's a random arbitrary number. It was like
I mean, I'm sure there is some sort of reason. I just haven't looked it up. But
yeah, I know. They just consider small and large businesses. They like hundreds the number, 50's another number they use for a lot of like caps and stuff like that. I don't know why. So
how many employees do you have?
on the payroll, like 18 total.
And then under the table.
Oh, 0. But I was saying on the payroll. Yeah. So yeah. Well, and that's including myself and my partner. You know what I mean? That's why I said on the payroll.
Yeah.
This guy's on fire. That's not fair. You can't just take off people's from their bumper stickers.
Wait a minute. You're saying that we can leverage cultural and employment related consequences against people purely because of their political affiliations?
Oy.
I don't know where we got this idea. That can't happen.
That's totally un-American. I've never heard of such a thing. I shudder to think, sir. Shudder.
That's like insulting half the country because yeah. So the other thing that I disliked about Biden's thing was that like it doesn't even make sense within itself. Like, did anybody proofread this thing? Like, because like the first half, he's sitting there talking about like, we got an epidemic of the. Okay, actually, no, I have 3 points. He's like,
yeah.
Epidemic
when you stumble upon a point I want to bring up, I have an overlay to show. So I'm pretty sure you're going to get there. So
well, okay, so I'll get to that later. Okay, so his first thing is just like the everybody got to get the vaccine, man. Come on, what?
Yeah.
What's the problem? What's the holdup here? You know, because the vaccine's great. It protects everybody. You know, it's a good thing. I don't know why you're not doing it. It's a smart choice. Now, on the whole, I actually agree with most of that. You know, I mean, like. I'm not saying the vaccine's perfect, you know, but I got the vaccine not because I was worried about the Rona, but because I just wanted people to shut up. So I'm like, you know, whatever. So because statistically, by and large, it does make a difference, right? So he's not wrong that the vaccine is an effective thing. But then, like 2 minutes later, because he wants to continue shaming the unvaccinated people, he's like, now because you're unvaccinated, you're causing everybody else to have to wear masks because now these vaccinated people are getting infected. And he's like, hold on. So the vaccine was great 30 seconds ago, and now it's not good enough to protect all of your righteous vaccinated people from these unwashed masses who are bringing their Rona germs into these public spaces. Like, well, which is it? You know, if the vaccine sucks so much that you're still worried about randos coming in, then why are you mandating the entire country? It's just like, it's all about control, I guess. I don't know. I mean, or maybe they just didn't think. Maybe they didn't think anybody would notice.
No, it was literally one sentence after the other. It was, we're going to protect vaccinated workers.
Yeah.
From unvaccinated workers. And you're like, but you're vaccinated. You're fine. You know, it's and then and in every other speech, it's like you said, it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated are dying. We need to protect you from yourself in this deadly virus.
Yeah.
So get vaccinated.
Yeah, but does he really want to protect the unvaccinated? It sounds to me like he doesn't give a shit about the unvaccinated people. He thinks they're all horrible Jan 6 rioters. No. You know, and it's like,
and of course, you know, they don't, because they exempted Congress. Congress doesn't have to be vaccinated. They exempted the post office. Post office doesn't have to be vaccinated.
Very powerful union, those post.
Oh, it's got nothing to do with the union, Dan. Oh, come on, dude. No, the post office is just there's a non-vector for COVID. You're not aware of that. It's a black hole of COVID. There's no COVID in the post office. So it's only people.
So people who literally go to everybody's house in the entire country.
Door to door.
Literally going door to door. Delivering.
Hello. Here's your package, sir. No, yeah, it's complete kabuki theater. It is literally,
and it's this is another thing that like bothers me. Like, I'm not a political professional. I mean, you know, I barely even function in my existing couple of jobs that I have.
I think you're a political amateur. Here we are. We're doing good.
Yeah, right. So it's like, if people like you and me who have we're sitting here like dissecting like obvious logical holes and obvious problematic phraseology. Like, you're telling me the entire White House can't sit down and you know what I mean? Like, and nobody thought to go, hey, wait a second, just, you know, trying to steal, man. You know, the opposition here. If you phrase it like that, people are going to raise the obvious question. And what do they do? They're just like, no, we're just going to ignore those people, or like we're going to do the Jen Psaki circle back around, or you're just going to storm off after the press conference and not take any questions. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I got into thinking about this stuff. Like, I remember being 18 and watching The West Wing when that show came out. And I mean, that show was the reason I majored in political science my first year, which was a stupid decision for a variety of reasons. But because I realized
based on The West Wing. Good Lord.
Well, not exactly, but I mean, the election.
I'm just kidding.
The Bush Gore election. It was just like I guess I was, who among us was not a stupid idiot at 18? But I had this and my sister was also really into like all that kind of stuff.
No, I was definitely a stupid idiot.
I realized very quickly, I'm like, yeah, the life in politics is not written by Aaron Sorkin, you know? And it's like, who's like a master of the English language, and people don't have like, witty walk and talks around the West Wing and discussing, and I remember like on that show, there was a character, it was like, second season or something. Like there was this chick, her name was Ainsley. And the whole point of her character was that like she like owned Rob Lowe's character on like one of these Sunday talk shows because she was like a conservative, and he was really embarrassed. And they're like, why don't we just get her on the staff here to like show us what the other half believes? And so she would crop up periodically. She had
foil.
Yeah, she had like a cubicle in the basement or something, but she would show up periodically to explain how
she's the Mulder. She's like, she's Mulder in the basement.
So like they would bring her in as like to be like, no, if you say this, half of the country is going to hear this, and blah blah blah. And they go, oh yeah, because they're all these like Ivy League educated people who are like kind of out of touch. And I just want to be like, there's nobody like that in this White House. Like no, like in Trump's White House, like you didn't have to look. All you had to do was just turn on Twitter or turn on the news to find out what the other half is thinking. Like Trump has to get half a sentence out, and you'll hear all the obvious caveats to what he said about how poorly he worded stuff, which, I won't disagree with. Sure. But it's like in this White House, it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's like maybe they should call up like Steven Crowder or somebody, like who's going to be like unfiltered and be like, look, we hate you. And we know you hate us. We will give you $1 million a year to just tell us all the worst parts of every speech we do before we do them. And that'll help us weed it out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like nobody thinks about these things. Like I feel like I could write a better speech for Joe Biden, and I don't even agree with any of his policies. But I'm like, look, I'm going to tell you, this is not going to fly. You say this, people are going to think you're an authoritarian, crazy person. Let me massage this for you. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
It just annoys me so much. Like they clearly don't even care.
No, I don't think they care. I mean, because they can get away with it and it doesn't matter. And like in like the vast majority of the media and the people that are surrounding them and the Washington lobbyists and insiders and all that stuff are all for it. It doesn't really matter. It all pushes their agenda. It all keeps them in power. It all keeps them in positions of influence and positions to make tons of money and whatever. That's what they do. That's the whole freaking purpose, man. So like if there's not a crisis that you can exploit, or once there's a crisis that you can exploit, if you don't exploit it, that's a big mistake on anybody's part that wants to keep power going. And that's what's going on right now. I mean, because they don't believe it. They don't believe it because they exempt themselves and they go to like freaking. You get I'm sure you saw some of this stupid hubbub from like the Met Gala thing, where all these ridiculous,
basically a live action district. What's the one district from the Hunger Games that was like all the crazy people with their outfits?
I understand the reference. Never seen the Hunger Games, but I get it.
The first two are pretty good. The third one's kind of like anyway.
I just never saw them, so it's okay.
It's an investment. It's a time investment.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, it's like a total aristocrat thing. We can go like there's
it's an interesting little. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, like literally, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez walking in her stupid gown, and someone behind, like walking in, smiling, talking to people. Someone behind her carrying the train of her gown with a mask on. And like all these people interviewing like 3 feet from each other, all posing, all big pictures, smiles, blah, blah, blah. Everyone in the back taking pictures with their masks on. Like, it's just this stupid.
It's ridiculous.
Fake. It's stupid. And it's an indoor thing in New York that they all had to be vaccinated for. And presumably you would think they'd be wearing masks, but it's also freaking fake, man.
It's like what's so stupid about it is that if anybody with any sort of historical like knowledge like would notice. It's like this is like
It looks terrible.
it's like the bourgeois acting like they're the workers.
Right.
You know, it's like if you had in the French Revolution, you had all the people in power being like, "Yeah, we got to revolt." You know, we got to put power to the people. It's like you're the one with the power.
Yeah.
Like, and you're the rich. So like, I don't see you donating 60% of you know what I mean? Like, it's baffling to me. These people who have benefited from all of like, you know, hundreds of years of capitalism to get where they are, you know, and I mean, you don't even talk about like you know, they're clearly willing to pay like, oh, well, this dress costs, you know, $20,000. Well, I'll pay that.
It's like $30,000 just to get into the event or something like that.
I mean, it's just, it's the
but
hypocrisy,
you know,
and
then
the
you have
blatant lack of self-awareness with these people.
But Dan, the public microphone you then have to be there to spread ideas. Aren't ideas isn't that worth the cost? No, it's not. Sorry. Because like nobody there was really spread. Nobody spread an idea. Like if you got a freaking tax the rich thing painted on the back of your your dress, and like I saw somebody said something like, "Wow, that looks like a Chick-fil-A bag."
Yeah, I saw that.
That's really funny. I was like, "That's pretty good. That's pretty good." But like that doesn't do anything.
To be fair, I mean, maybe not everybody was there to make a political statement. Some people were there just
no. But
right?
like, yeah. But in the yeah, listen. And if you got $30,000 and you want to go to that stupid event and you have freaking $20,000 for a dumb
I'm all
outfit,
about
go
pushing
for it.
artistic boundaries.
Yeah,
like
I'm okay
I
with
think
that too.
some of the fashion stuff that you see, it's like almost like hilarious. It's almost like a joke now. But I'm like, no, I'm all about that. Like
it is though
the postmodern dissection of what art means and what expression means and all this kind of stuff. I'm here for that.
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
I love that kind of stuff. It
is
you
a little
try to like make it into a blatantly hypocritical political statement that it's just like, all right, you know what?
I don't know though. It is also seemingly really tone deaf for even if you're not there for a political statement, just to be like, let me flaunt around here and like I'm here without a mask. I'm getting face to face with other people without masks. I'm doing interviews and every other human being in there has to wear one. It's just like, don't you feel shitty for doing that? Like I would. Like I feel bad when I go to a restaurant or I go to Walmart and like people are wearing masks and I know their bosses or I go to Starbucks and like people have to wear a mask who work there. I'm just like, sorry guys. There's no solidarity here. I'm not wearing it, but you know, I feel for you. But like, but that's not even the same thing because it's not. Maybe it is. Maybe it is kind of the same parallel. Like those people were working there. It's their job, and their job makes them wear a mask when they go to that kind of stuff. But it still looks terrible. Like I'm not there at a fashion shoot at Starbucks. I'm just getting
the difference is
cold brew,
you're not using your public platform to tell everybody to mask up, and if you don't, you're a terrible person.
This is true.
It's correct. The people who are just mouthpieces for the status quo, the approved groupthink, and then when they in their private life, and not even so private life, like walking around in public, clearly not adhering to their own things that they rules for thee and not for me,
not for me. Yeah.
And that's just like, and the funny thing is, like you say that phrase, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, that's true," and like nobody thinks it applies to them, right? Because like I remember I said this about some people that they were like clearly kind of like, and they were talking about something that I don't even remember what the topic was. It was like everybody kind of agreed on it. And I just threw out the thing, rules for thee and not for me. And they go, yeah, that's true. People do that. I wanted to be like,
I was talking to you, bro.
I can think of some, Anybody got the last name Cuomo in here? You know what I mean? It's like,
boy. Yeah, man. Oh goodness, that'd be so. Yeah, again, I just harken back. It's very distinct to me. Like if Donald Trump had just said to Andrew Cuomo in a speech from the White House, like, I'm coming after you, man. Like, cause that whole speech was
would that be the greatest celebrity death match in history? Donald Trump versus Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, I'd rather watch that
like
between
claymations and stuff.
Yeah, like because Joe Biden and Ron DeSantis, no one's scared of Joe Biden physically. Like at least Cuomo. I mean, Cuomo and Donald Trump's got some height. He's got some reach. He's a big dude. It'd be a good fight.
Nobody is sure exactly how he had the energy that he has. I mean, he's an overweight 70-something dude, but he's just running around. He's always talking like, I don't know if he's on speed or whatever. I mean, I know there's conspiracy theories.
I think it's the sweet spot of 17 Diet Cokes and just the right amount of KFC chicken grease. Like it just grinds you, get you going.
Yeah.
He's a very unhealthy man.
Speaking of which, the new KFC spicy chicken sandwich is amazing.
Nice. I haven't eaten there. I haven't eaten at KFC, and
I haven't either.
I don't know how long.
I was kind of stuck in a jam recently, and I'm like, I'll go to KFC, whatever. I'm sure I can get something there. I saw this picture of it on the little board. I'm like, all right, I'm just enough of a sucker for capitalist marketing that I'm going to buy that chicken sandwich. And it was amazeballs. It had like pickles and like the spicy sauce. It was probably like 1,000. It probably took a year off my life, but it was really good.
I almost bought a Popeyes chicken sandwich when there was like the chicken sandwich war thing going on. I was like, ooh, this sounds like a good idea. I should try that.
Yeah, I haven't done the Popeyes thing yet.
I literally got in line one time, and the drive-through took such a long time. I said, screw this.
Yeah.
I'm going to Cookout because Cookout was right there. And I got something to cook out, which was probably way less satisfying than a Popeyes chicken sandwich, but whatever.
Yeah, I used to be a Cookout devotee, but then I realized if you look at the chicken sandwich that Cookout puts out, it's clearly like mechanically separated poultry that's formed into the rough shape of a chicken breast. Whereas like if you go to like other places, it's an actual, just good old like, GMO genetically modified chicken breast pumped up where they're living in factories.
Yeah,
just like America was designed for. Yeah. Okay, so my other scientific objection.
Lay it on me. Wait, what do you think this translates to? Because he's from Brazil,
so that's Portuguese.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll Google that later.
Hey, Jose, you're talking to dumb white Americans.
I appreciate the fact that you understand English and we don't understand a word of Portuguese. Sorry.
Yes, you are better than me. I'm just telling you that. I mean that with all sincerity. All right, yeah. Point number 2.
Okay, so do you know who Brett Weinstein is?
I am aware of the Weinstein. Not Weinstein.
Well, it's right.
It is Weinstein, isn't it?
His brother Eric. So anyway, Brett and his wife Heather were they got a long history like being in the spotlight. They were on Rogan the other day, and he brought up this really great point where it was like the whole phrase like epidemic of the unvaccinated like is a cool phrase, like it's a great marketing ploy. But he's like, that doesn't fly scientifically at all. Mm-hmm. And he cited this other study that this dude did where, let me get it right in my head. There was a guy who success in the podcast project. That's what that means. All right. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you, buddy. That was super nice. We got right back at you, buddy. Success to you too in all your endeavors. Thank you.
So, there was a dude who basically he was like, you got to pay attention to like who can predict things, who makes calls and that come true, and like watch that guy. So there was a dude there was a guy talking about the stuff. This is like last year, who said like, this is going to be just a pandemic of variants. That was literally what he said. Because for a couple of reasons. I think I heard this
as well, by the way.
Okay. So, and correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but it's like the fact that the vaccine was rolled out so quickly means that it by definition had to be specifically targeted to target
that strain.
Right. So, which means that there's an evolutionary pressure upon the existing virus to mutate in a way so that it can survive the existence of the vaccine in the general populace. So it was like basically proving that like the existence of variants has nothing to do with the unvaccinated. In fact, it has more to do with the vaccinated.
Yes, I have heard this as well.
The narrative that it's the unvaccinated that are causing the variants is exactly the wrong way of looking at it. It's actually this is not saying that people shouldn't get vaccinated because, we have what we have. So maybe the vaccine as a tool isn't perfect, but it's the best we got. But you can't start laying blame. It's like because Joe Sixpack over here in Alabama and all of his friends didn't get the vaccine for whatever reasons, maybe they're good or bad reasons. They're not the reason that the Delta variant exists. The Delta variant exists because of the reality of the situation. That's just how biology works.
Right. Like the dominant strain could run through a population without unless there's a roadblock, and the roadblock being the vaccine. So then that dominant strain falls off the wayside during, reproduction of the virus. And then any natural selective kind of thing, which results in a variant, then is promulgated because that
Right.
variant is it's gotten around it.
It's like if you suddenly had, if you were like in the Serengeti and there was like giraffes everywhere, and you suddenly had trees, all the trees were like, if the trees had thoughts and all the trees were like, hey, these giraffes are eating us. Okay, why don't we only have leaves over 25 feet tall so that the giraffes can't reach? I mean, like, all right, that's going to work for a while, but eventually there's going to be one giraffe that is 28 feet tall that can eat their leaves, and then he's going to start getting it on with all the other giraffes,
Yeah,
and then that's how it works, right? That's natural selection.
Right, natural selection. Yep. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Yes. And you'd think an evolutionary biologist would have a decent say on how that works, or at least a good good grasp of a theory.
Yeah, I mean, Brett's one of the smartest people
works
on the planet, so
yeah, right.
It's like, what's that? That's one of my favorite lines from Armageddon, where like,
yeah,
where he's like, was a guy, some scientist dude played by like Jason Isaacs or whatever, and he's like talking about, and he's like, and then the chief of staff is like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's pretty much the smartest man on the planet, so you should probably listen to him."
Anyway. I like the, I think it was the same interview where it was Brett and Heather and Rogan, and they were talking about their audio book, and like and Joe was like, did you guys read the book, or did you read your own stuff? He's like, yeah, we did that. He's like, oh, I hate it when people do that. Yeah. And they're just like, he's like, yeah, well, people might not like it when I do it, and people might like Heather's voice. And she's like, well, sometimes it might be the other way around. I was like, that woman whispers. All her talking voice is a whisper. She talks just like this, and she's like, Dan, let me tell you, I've got some really exciting news. I went skydiving, and when I was doing it, I went yee-haw the whole way down, Dan. Like,
people listening to this who don't know who Brett and Heather are, like, I
you need to go look it up.
I wish that I could replay my entire college experience just taking their classes.
Yeah,
because you listen to them talk, and they're like, "Yeah, we went to the Amazon, and we stayed in huts, and we learned about this." And I'm like, "You guys seem like the coolest college professors ever."
Yeah, they did a lot of field work in their
which naturally meant that they had to be ostracized from their academic community because they dared to go against the Orwellian groupthink that is taking over.
He got a lot of heat for pushing like ivermectin and other prophylactics and stuff over the vaccine. So
wait, prophylactics?
Yep. Did I say that wrong? I'm pretty sure I got that right.
I thought prophylactics were used for something else, but
maybe I. Sorry. Thank you. Yes, you are correct. Actually, he might have been pushing that as well. That might have been the problem.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry. Thank you. Whatever. That's not the right thing. But what my point was something before I made an embarrassing mistake. Oh, but either way, he was, whatever. You can't talk about alternative treatments to COVID and be a respectable part of the scientific community anymore.
Yeah. The whole point about like once somebody puts the word "the" in front of science, you can immediately all right, I know they got an agenda,
Yes. That's
and I feel very validated that Brett Weinstein being so smart also hates Anthony Fauci.
Yeah,
because like that guy's good. I can't stand that man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
he just keeps going too, man. Because it's just like,
I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, you got a guy who's like the virus czar of America, who the longer time goes on, like it keeps coming out like. Not only did he like, I mean, okay, so first it was like, all right, maybe on a technicality, like it depends on what "is" means, one of those kind of things, whether it's gain of function or not, like, his arguments with Rand Paul and stuff. But then it comes out that it's like, no, it's pretty blatantly a lie, and like by any stretch of the imagination. And it's like, the more the rabbit hole goes, it's like, you know what? This guy might even be like 1% partially responsible for this whole damn thing. And he's the guy, like, that's not even like remotely a conflict of interest. He's the guy going on TV and like, here's what you got to do to save yourself from the problem that I helped create. It's like, I mean, I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, act like they, because I know people who like literally think, oh, they made it in a lab. They made it so they could destroy America and stuff. And I'm like, all right, well, that's just stupid because it definitely killed more Chinese people than American people. So that's kind of ridiculous. But like, it's not crazy that like, these people, they get you know, we went too far, you know, like whatever that's from, you know, like they never stop to think if they should, like all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, sometimes science goes on a steamroll and it just kind of goes forward and then bad stuff happens. But it's just like
Yeah.
just the complete unwillingness. I mean, imagine if Anthony Fauci was like, I feel maybe like partially responsible for some of this. We really want to take. It's just like nobody's taking stock of any of their behavior. They're all just trying to save face and vilify anybody who disagrees. If you disagree with him, you're disagreeing with science.
With science,
that's basically what he said. I'm like,
the science.
How about you get your head out of your ass, buddy?
Well, like, no, he just echoes more stuff he just echoes Joe Biden stuff. Because like in the Joe Biden speech, he was just like, listen, guys, this is not about your personal freedom. This is about your safety. This is all we're talking about. Personal freedom's not a thing we're even worried about anymore. It's your safety. And like Andy Fauci, the same way. He's just like, well, yeah. It's like, I know it's very uncomfortable for people to think about, but we vaccinate children all the time. We mandate vaccines for kids for everything. He's like, so just get ready for that because it's coming. Again, that's something he said this past week. It's like, well, I don't know, man. You don't mandate vaccines for kids for stuff that has zero effect on kids. Really, you don't. Like zero deadly effects on kids. I mean, an
unvaccinated child has less risk from corona than a vaccinated adult.
By far, by huge degrees of like statistical stuff. So it's crazy. So like he's gonna keep pushing that, and that's just. Again, that's what you got to do. You got to keep power, man. You don't just give it up when you have it. And like they're pushing. This is so funny too. They're pushing. And I literally mean this. This is funny. They're pushing. The idea of booster shots coming. And there are like people in the World Health Organization and other like ministries of health in other countries be like, what the fuck, man? Don't be pushing boosters. It's like our country doesn't have any vaccine. Like, throw it here. Can we have like the first dose before you rich ass bastard Americans get?
I mean, there may be a medical and scientific rationale for the existence of boosters because it's possible. I mean,
no, I get that. Sure. But like,
right.
Everyone's like, come on, dude. Like, only a small percentage of the planet is vaccinated.
Yeah.
I don't know what that percentage is, but it's not the majority of the planet. And the rest of the planet's like, please, sir, can I have a vaccine? And it's like, nah, I need my 9th booster. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sudan.
I mean, we probably will need boosters. I mean, with all these variants going around. I mean,
as
I've learned more, I mean, what Brett was saying the other day was it was just like, because this vaccine is so specifically targeted to the original strain, its effectiveness wanes as the variants get further and further from the original version. I mean, that kind of that tracks. But of course, just because that science may be sound, that doesn't mean that they're not going to figure out a way to use it to exert more control over people.
Point of personal privilege here. Daryl Anderson agreed with me.
Is that?
Now I might have pronounced it a little funny.
I just always assumed that the word prophylactic kind of only had one meaning.
It does mean that though, but I have heard that term a lot in terms of the COVID stuff. So Dave is right as usual. That is not usual. That is an outlier. But thank you, Daryl Anderson, for your kind words. And
so here's a topic like that, something that I was thinking about that, and I put it on Facebook or whatever, but it was like, I don't even know who coined the phrase, but it's like, never attribute to malice that which can be explained by stupidity. And
that post, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard it somewhere. Maybe it's like Mark Twain or Einstein or somebody from like the first half of the 20th century. Anyway,
sure.
So it's the idea that's like, people have this idea that like, somebody does something, they're like, they're trying to hurt me, they're out to get me. And it's like, no. Sometimes people are just idiots and people don't think things through. Like, you're much better off, because if you spend like your whole life assuming that like everybody's out to get you, everybody's trying to hurt you by what they're doing, it's like you're just going to be angry all the time and you're going to see a villain around every corner. Right. So, and it also applies to like maybe people like us or like maybe more conspiratorial, crazy people who are like, the government, man, they're coming in here, they're trying to take this. I'm like, look, I understand that fear, but the government is much more like Veep than it is like House of Cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's their incompetence that we usually complain about, not necessarily their diabolical scheming. So like that's just a good principle in life, right? You know, like somebody at work says something and is like, well, I take offense to that. I'm like, well, look, they probably didn't know what the hell they were saying.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean they're trying
it's
to get under your skin. Like
it's a general principle just to give someone the
Yeah.
benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
So, and I mean, I use that as a defense plenty of times. I'll be like, somebody will get mad at me about something, and I'll be like, look, I'll cop to the stupidity of me saying that. Maybe that was insensitive or something like that. But like, and I'll own that. Sure, I can own the fact that I maybe say something stupid. I don't know everything. I'm an idiot. I made a bad choice. Sure, but like, I won't accept your insinuation that maybe I'm a bad person or maybe that I was trying to hurt somebody or do something
Sure.
bad. Like that's a whole different
Yep.
ballgame. So I think about that because the ability to have that give the like other people that benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's a good life skill in general, but it also applies like internally. So I've noticed that like people who immediately assume the worst intentions of other people are also the same kind of people that can't just admit when they goof up, because it's like in their mind the logic is this: if somebody does something that causes me annoyance or me, you know, inconvenience or pain or whatever, they clearly meant it and they meant to hurt me.
Okay.
And so therefore, bad action equals bad intention as opposed to, you know, making a mistake. And so in order to be consistent, they have to apply that same logic to themselves, meaning, well, if I admit that I did something wrong or I screwed up or I was an idiot or whatever, then that means I'm a bad person.
Okay.
Right. What if they're used to saying, like, look, making a mistake doesn't mean you're all messed up. Maybe everybody makes mistakes. Then they can't allow themselves that grace, and so they're much less likely to actually admit that they did something stupid.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like the people that I know who are the most like self-aware about all this kind of stuff, they go, oh yeah, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, I get it. No, you're right. You know, like those are the
Yeah.
people who give other people the benefit of the doubt too, because they're secure about themselves. And the reason I bring all this up is because, I mean, not to bring this back to Joe Biden, but like this is really the point where I've decided I don't like this man
Sure.
because I mean, is there a more clear example of like presidential malfeasance than this whole Afghanistan thing? Like,
No.
I mean, he just keeps trying to pass the buck to other people. It's like, oh, this was always part of the plan, you know. It's like, and the narrative keeps changing. And then now it's like, well, you know, look, we told them to get out. They didn't get out. That's their problem, you know. It's like so,
Yeah.
like that represents that, like,
I got something to add to that when you finish. Don't let me
okay,
jump. Don't jump
so
to another.
it's. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because the two parts of this conversation go hand in hand. Clearly, he's like vilifying everybody who's different. He can't just allow for the possibility that other people have differences of opinion. He can't allow for the possibility that, like, yeah, the mainstream media, of which I am their puppet, you know, has kind of bungled this whole thing. And I mean, imagine if he got on national television and was like, look, I understand there's a lot of confusion about this kind of stuff. I understand there's a lot of science going around, a lot of facts, a lot of numbers, and it's hard to deal with as a regular person. I'm just telling you, as a fellow American, as a fellow human being, I really encourage you to, for your family, for your neighbors, you know, but I understand if you're distrustful. I understand if you distrust me because I'm an old white man in a suit. Like, imagine if he had that level of honesty, you know, where he just treated people who disagreed with him like as a human being. And I could say the same thing for Trump, right? I mean, like he had a whole different, you know, cornucopia.
Sure.
He had a whole charcuterie board of personality problems that we don't have to get into.
Oh, delicious.
Yeah. So, like, I get that, but like the disdain that he illustrates towards other people, and he's not willing to admit the fact that like unvaccinated people, yeah, that's a call I disagree with, but like that doesn't mean they're bad people. Like he can't allow for that those two things to exist at once. He has to vilify them and insult them. And that illustrates that's probably how he looks at himself. He can't admit that he made a mistake because that means that he's somehow bad, right? Like he doesn't have the level of cognitive space in his brain to say that, like, you know what? You know, I know I'm doing the right thing. Like, but I can still think that I'm a good person and admit that I made a mistake. So I'm going to have pride in myself. I'm going to have self-confidence and go out here and be like, yeah, you know, look, that didn't go like we planned. And we made some bad calls, and, you know, we like to apologize, and we're going to do the best we can to fix it. You know, I believe, and I hope that you'll agree with me that I think I'm doing the right thing here. So, you know, just bear with us as we work. Could you imagine that level of honesty? Like,
yeah, no.
You know what I mean? But he can't do that. He has to blame these people and blame everybody else. I'm like, you are a 13-year-old child.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's what a kid does who gets caught with his hand in the cookie jar. That's not what a
well,
mature
see,
adult
yeah,
does.
no, for sure. And then,
Especially
and
not
you
one
know,
who's almost as old as God.
oh, good lord, yeah. Well, yeah, America's going to stop hiring geriatrics to run the country. That's just not appropriate anymore. But like, and you're right, because like, not that they don't apologize, but then they double down on what they did before. So like, they double down
Yeah.
on the action, and then they spin and obfuscate and lie and do other stuff. So like in the Afghanistan thing, so there was like that a bombing after we started leaving. So there was a
Right.
terrorist attack that killed a couple servicemen. So then they're like, you know what, we're going to
13.
immediately, yeah. Was it 13 Americans?
It was at least 12.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was.
Well,
Yeah,
Baker's dozen.
yeah, that's right. And they're like, you know what? Well, that's that, dude. We can't have that. We're gonna strike back hard. We got this embarrassing thing, and we get something that amplified an embarrassing thing, and now there's dead Americans, and it looks even worse. So now we got to really. Wow, I just banged the table pretty hard. I didn't mean to do that. That was Gorbert. That was Soviet like. And then they had
Blood
that airstrike.
alone moves the wheels of history.
Bang my shoot with but then they had that that strike on the ISIS K. They took out some ISIS K people. That's what happened. Turns out a week later they're like, wow, that was a big explosion. Actually, some innocent people died. They're like, well, listen, well, what happened was we hit the car, and the car had explosives in the trunk. So there was a secondary explosion, and that exploded, and that killed some innocent people, regrettably so. We're like, oh, that makes sense. I get it. You killed a terrorist that had a bomb in their car, and it just happened to kill more people. Terrible. I get it. That's fine. And then like the New York Times does a freaking exclusive, like real they dug deep into it. They're taking pictures. They're talking to bomb experts. They're all there, and they're like, we're looking at the footage of the wreckage. There's no explosive here. The trunk didn't even explode. I was like, there's water bottles in the trunk from where they saw pictures of a guy putting water bottles in the trunk earlier that day from security footage. They literally blew up the wrong car. They murdered an innocent dude in his driveway when his kids came home to like meet him at the car. So that's why that whole family's dead. And they've not admitted to it. They've not said, oh yeah, no, sorry. We murdered an innocent family in retaliation to something. That is basically the effect of what we did for the last 20 years anyway. And then a huge
Which was
quick pullout.
entirely preventable.
Right. And the whole fuck up of the pullout and all that stuff. So these people double down on their stupidity. They double down on their bad decisions. They make other bad decisions on top of that. And there's no apology. There's no backtracking. There's no mea culpa. There's no heads rolled. I mean, it takes forever for all those things to ever happen, if they ever do. So that's why you know that they're all full of crap. And they are crappy people. And they don't have self-reflection. And they're not able to go, in the ideal world, you are right. Having that empathy for other people should allow you to have that for yourself. Excuse me. And then to have that kind of self-reflection and to make the right call, even though you may have done something wrong along the path. That's just there's no course correction there that's available in our current political climate. And that's not and just to say, it's not
new.
That's not a Joe Biden thing that he owns. That's the American political process. That's just how it goes. It is the wheel. Yeah. And it like you point it out every year. You point it out with every president. You point it out with every congressman. You just point it out all the time.
It's to the point where is it even possible for somebody to get that far? I mean, I know there are some people in Washington that you want to like them, but you don't. It's like, I mean, I love Rand Paul. I love some of these other people. And I wonder, I'm like, would Rand Paul turn into a total asshole if he was a president? I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
yeah, man, I struggle with that. I do really say that with all sincerity. Like I use this comment all the time. Like if you want to be the most powerful person on the planet, you can't be trusted with that power, and you're going to do some awful things to get there.
I
think that's true on the main. Now there are some guys that might want to take the reins because look, I was a big Ron Paul dude. I was really into that because Ron Paul was his whole purpose was I want to get there and then tear it all down, take it all back, give it all back to you. I'm doing the George Washington thing. I'm not the king. This is all you. I'm out of here. But I think that's rare though. That's hard to find.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, that was part of the thing at the end of Game of Thrones, which I spoiler alert, but not really, but the whole point of that show and that whole story was that it's all just a big power grab. And there's,
Right.
Yes, there are maybe sides that are more moral than, it's like you're less shitty than the other people who are trying to vie for the control. But like the fact that you want control inherently means that there's something a little, and the only good people in that whole scenario are the ones who don't want to be in charge. So, they call that, years ago. But
Yeah.
but it gets to the end of the episode, at the end of the whole show, and they're like trying to figure out like, well, who should be in charge? You know what I mean? Like, it's a question that like nobody can answer. So
I still can't believe they let the dragon be in charge. That didn't make any sense at all. Wait, was that his name, the dragon? No, I was just kidding. I know. I saw the show. I know who it was.
what was the dragon's name? I don't remember.
No,
We got rigged for
the
Whoa!
woo. Thanks for there. The dragons probably did have names, but I don't know the show well enough to. I'm not that big of a Game of Thrones nerd. I watched it once or twice.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I went through the whole show like in 2019, I think, and there's a lot of this kind of stuff in it, which is why I liked it. But
I liked it better the second time I watched it through, just because because there's so many characters and it's kind of hard to follow if you don't
Yeah.
know exactly what's going on.
that's
And
true.
when you binge watch it, you're just like, it's a freaking fire hose of
Yeah, it
nudity,
really is.
nudity, violence, and names that you don't know.
Right.
And then yeah, interesting. Well, we're at an hour. We
Yeah.
can keep riffing. We can keep riffing, or we can call it. Oh, I did have a little. This was an interesting quote, I thought, in regards to the Met Gala and all that stuff, and making fun of masks. Do you follow Glenn Greenwald at all?
I don't think so.
You should. He's a good follow. It's like while AOC's revolutionary and subversive socialist gown generated buzz, the normalization of maskless elites attended to by faceless servants is grotesque. I don't know. I think that's great. He's solid. He's a super lefty dude, but he's really consistent and he holds people in power to a high standard. So if you ever read his stuff, it's worth it. He's got his own Substack and his own video channel and stuff.
I should check that out.
You should. He's pretty good. I think you'll like it, and you'll probably like the people that hate him. You'll be like, oh wow, you hate him for all the wrong reasons. So you'll find more people you
that's
disagree.
always interesting.
Yeah, you're just like, huh? You shouldn't. I don't know why you disagree with that. That's an interesting
Yeah,
take.
I mean, that's something that's worth repeating, I guess, is that like, we spent most of this talking about Biden and the administration and the current guard, but it's like you don't have to like it's not a zero-sum game in terms of like who you like and who you dislike. You're allowed to dislike two people for two different reasons, right? And you're allowed to find value in people that you overall dislike or can't stand, and you're and it's probably a good idea to point out the flaws in people that you overall do like. I don't understand this whole like ridiculous team sport thing,
Right.
where it's like, like the whole thing is a balancing act, and like any point that you take away from from the Biden administration automatically means that you're like, oh, well, that means that like the whoever Republican is going to be is like automatically better. Like that's not doesn't mean that. I mean, like there's as human beings, we have figured out many myriads of ways to be crappy. So like nobody has a monopoly on all the ways. So like people have this insecurity. They're like, well, I've identified with this team, and if I agree with this criticism that somebody brought up against my team, then that means that I'm crappy. I was like, no, it means you're a free thinker. It means that you're not letting people thousands of miles away tell you what to think about yourself.
Yeah, man. I on that line, like, so on my Twitter, I only follow like national accounts. I have like no personal stuff on my Twitter. It's completely like a news aggregate feed for me and just things I'm interested in. It doesn't have to be news, but like that's a lot of the stuff I follow. So like there was a Ben Shapiro post or something, and I read it, and I just thought it was the stupidest, most nationalistic, like America gung ho kind of thing. I was just like, this is dumb. This is just like a complete word salad of nonsense. That's all I said. I didn't really, not my finest comment. I was just like,
what was it he said?
It was just like if you're watching the Joe Biden administration, you're watching the downfall of America, mostly because of what happened in Afghanistan. You're like, okay, fair enough, bro. But I mean, come on, this has been happening for a long time, and
Yeah.
Afghanistan's not Joe Biden's fault. It is when he left, but like but he's just
He tends
was
to get a
basi-
little dramatic about that kind of stuff. That is very.
it was, and it was very. I'll use a term. It's not. It's very verbose, which is a verbose way to say very wordy and stupid, and
Yeah.
try to be super eloquent. And it wasn't very long. It was only a couple hundred words, but it was just a dumb little op-ed thing, and I just thought it was stupid. That's just like that was stupid. That was dumb. And then like I got a lot of likes, which is rare for me on Twitter, probably because I commented on some national huge post. But then like the comments I got were like, "Well, that's because you're a stupid fucking libtard, fucker, graduated public high school." I was just like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "It's like yeah." For someone who hates America, I was just like, "Wow, yeah, man, I don't." So it's so funny.
As if
I was
that's
like, yeah,
the only right. And I generally agree with a lot of what Ben Shapiro says. But the
me too.
idea that like the only reason you could disagree with him on a particular point is because you're a stupid libtard. It's like, I mean, he's a smart dude, but he's not as smart as he thinks. I mean, like, case in point,
Well,
listen to him.
he might
listen to
be
him
as
talk
smart
about
as he thinks.
Well,
But
he
he's
is
not
pretty
about
intelligent.
everything.
Well, he's
Not about
okay,
everything.
So he's okay. We'll talk about him. Like I've been it's like, okay, you're a fan of a band. You don't have to like all their albums, right?
This is true.
So I think he's very smart with certain subjects, but he's a good example of when you get really smart at one thing, you tend to like carry that presumption of your own smartness over into other subjects. So like the best example is like look up like him talking about Star Wars. Like he loves Star Wars like we all do, but it's like he starts talking about, he's like, "Oh, this movie was great. This movie was bad because this, and this." And I'm like, okay, you apply a multi-layer approach to thinking about politics and philosophy and public policy, and that's great. But like, do you want to go toe to toe on applying a multi-level of layer of analysis to Star Wars? Because I feel like you're not doing that. Because you're negating and it's just like, and that's not, it doesn't make him bad as a person. There's plenty of things I don't know about, but it's a good example of like, say somebody like Fauci, who's like, I don't know. Well, maybe he's not a good example because I'm not even sure that he's good at his main job.
But that's an epidemiologist or whatever.
Yeah. So like, but say he was in some alternate universe a competent physician at his main job. That doesn't mean that he's good at public policy. That doesn't mean that he's even good at public speaking. You know what I mean? Like, so. Or the other example, like take your average Hollywood actor or producer or person who's like, oh, it's the Oscars. This is the time to let America know about my political opinions. Like nobody cares, okay?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah.
I mean, I think maybe we're all guilty of that. Like, I mean, you think about this. Like, think about like you're really good at playing one instrument, right? And then you go try to play another instrument. And you're like, oh, it doesn't feel good to suck at something. And you're so used to playing the instrument that you play really good that it's hard to go back to think back to when you were like 13 and had nothing else going on. You were like just playing and trying to get better. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel every time I try to play the piano.
Oh, boo-hoo, Mister, I'm good at every other instrument. Ooh, boo-hoo.
Well, I haven't played drums in
I'm
like
just
8 years,
kidding.
so I probably I'm sure I suck at drums now. But
did you not record the drums on your last album?
no. So I played the drums on the album I did in 2012. But for the ones 2016 and 2021, I had Adam play drums.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's why it sounds good. That's great.
Yeah, that's why it's so coordinated and sounds a lot better than me playing drums.
I've been telling people you did that.
Well, feel free.
That's
some misinformation.
It was like 5
with.
people. Yeah. Fake news. We'll circle back on that. Yeah, it's
come on.
I'll probably be guilty of that, man, because like there'll be people I generally like and stuff. And then if they have a bad take, I almost take it personal. It's just like, you're not supposed to think that. You're not supposed to. But that's everyone's got their own spots where you don't have to agree with them. That's more of a me thing than them.
Yeah,
like,
well, it makes me self-skeptical of myself because, like, for example,
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, like, it makes me paranoid. Like, if I listen to like, okay, so say I turn on, conservative person, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, whatever, or Tim Pool, even though he's not really conservative, but I'm like, I listen to them talk about a subject where they know more than me, and the way they say it in a way that makes sense, and I go, oh yeah, okay, right, yeah, okay, and then that starts to become kind of my opinion, right? But then as soon as they start talking about something that I know about, You know, like
Oh, I see.
they
I
start
see. They
talking
just
about playing guitar, they talk about music, or maybe they talk about movies and stuff that I've done like deep dives on. I go,
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And then I started thinking, like, wait a second. I very easily figured out that they were a fallible human being when they talked about a subject that I knew about. But I'm not thinking that they're a fallible human being when they're talking about something that they know more than me. Then I'm like, hold on.
Yep.
Am I just
That's a good thing to be
you
self-aware
know what I
about.
mean? Am I
Yeah,
just
for
taking these
sure.
people like these YouTube personalities as a buffet line and just taking the parts that make me feel like all right, this is something that I could articulately regurgitate in a group setting. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
like have you actually challenged that idea and actually really thought it through? That's a good point.
yeah,
That's for sure.
That's something I get a little bit paranoid about. I'm always that's why I'm afraid of bringing stuff like this up in public because I'm always afraid like what happens if somebody here knows way more than me? I'm gonna look really stupid. But I try to embrace that possibility. Be like, oh, dude, that was fun. I'm so glad you showed me something.
Well, see, when you're talking to people that are able to or that are generally interested in sharing an idea, and they go, "No, here, I think you're wrong here. Let me tell you why." That's a good spot to be when you have like that kind of relationship or that kind of conversation. So that's always good. But like, I agree with you though. Like today, I was listening actually because I really do actually I listen to the Daily Wire stuff kind of a lot. Actually, I really like Matt Walsh. I think he's hilarious. And I disagree
really
with him. I do. I think he's so sarcastic and such an asshole. I think it's great. But like I disagree with him on a ton of stuff, like a lot of stuff. And like even like Ben Shapiro, I actually listened to one today and like she was talking about they were talking about the Biden stuff. And then somehow it got back because I so disagree with him on all the war stuff and all the American military and all that kind of jazz. That's just like he's all on board with that. And he's just like, yeah, we basically gave up, he talked about September 11th. He's like, yeah, so we gave over Afghanistan back to the people who did 9/11, like literally. I was like, no, we literally did not, because the Taliban did not perpetuate 9/11. I'm sorry, they didn't.
I had that same thought at about 3 p.m. today. I was listening to that. I was like,
okay. That's not true. It's not true. Now, if you had said the same kind of person, the same kind of
fact checked of that would be like, actually requires context, and you would have to clarify that statement and say, this statement is only true if you presume that like a kind of tacit endorsement of Al Qaeda,
a harboring of the people who didn't come, and even harboring is a fun term that you can that's a big wide term. That
there's no question that the Taliban are bad people, so like that we could agree on,
absolutely.
But it's still a little bit disingenuous to make that blanket statement for the sake of making a good zinger.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, yes, I agree. And then like when you hear something you disagree with, that should give you pause about everything else they say. But then again, you should have pause about what everybody else says, regardless of what they say and who they are. Yeah. That should be a good, like being skeptical is good, and trying to think through arguments and be like, you can be convinced for an argument. Also, you can just hold it loosely. You can go, I think that's probably true. Yeah. Let me think more about this and let me hear more about it and give it some more thought.
Imagine if we took this to like its logical conclusion. You like pick the kids up. You're like, how was school today? Like, pretty good. Like, are you sure?
Was it pretty good?
Some evidence. Are you sure that school was good? I don't believe you. I was like, you know what I mean?
Or like they both say it. We're like, Nora, did you just say it was pretty good because Gabe said it was good? Is that what you heard before, or did you actually have a good day? And define good for me.
Yeah, I've been honest. Like, Gabe said he had a pretty crappy day. So like, what's with the double speak here? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Hey. Or they both say good at the same time. You're like, looks like you guys really got your story straight. What are you hiding?
Yeah. Yeah. Bunch of Stepford wives over here, just programmed little robot monsters. Yikes. Like, Dad, I just want to play Fortnite when I get home. Like, okay.
I tell you what,
fine.
like
you got an hour of Fortnite, buddy.
The number of times I've started saying break the wheel all the time with my my one
context,
child,
please.
My one child is 13 and the other child is 7, almost 8. So by definition, they don't like any of the same things. They don't like the same music. They don't want to watch the same movies.
Boy and girl as well. Totally different.
Exactly. And but what they do like is they want to compete for the same resources, which is 2 children, there's only one front seat. 2 children, there's only one song can be playing at once in the car. 2 children, like there's a limited amount of Oreos in the cupboard. So the problem is that like they don't have any common ground, and yet they compete over everything. So I keep trying to say like when you have nothing else going on in your life, as you do when you're a child, like you find things to argue about. I just started saying like, hey, break the wheel. And like, because they know what that means now. It's like, look, you get mad at her and she gets mad at you, and then you just end up bickering and fighting over it. And then I get mad, and nobody wants dad to get mad. And they're like, oh, that's a good point. That's the only thing they agree on. They don't want dad.
Break the wheel of madness.
They don't want Dramadon to start. Hurricane Dramadon's about to make
I
landfall. They don't want that to happen. So I keep saying,
There's
like,
a tropical depression going in the car.
well, yeah, it's like, but the wheel, it's like, look, this is what I mean. It's like a cycle. You keep it going, and you're just gonna fight and retaliate. That's what it means. But
yeah.
So yeah. Parenting advice from Game of Thrones, from a show that they hopefully won't watch until they're both at least 25.
Oh, is that from Game of Break the Wheel? Is that a phrase from that?
No, that's what Tyrion Lannister says. He,
oh, that's what I'm saying. That's from that show. I don't.
That's where I heard it. Maybe it's older than that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. That's where you derived it from. Yeah, I can break both of those arguments up because I don't listen to kids' music in the car. That's a dad rule. Sorry, made that rule, and they're not old enough to ride shotgun, so I don't have to get there yet. Maybe when they get older. Like I get a lot of like, can we listen to? I was like, no, we're gonna listen to what I want when I'm behind. I'm operating this vehicle. I own the radio. I defer to mommy sometimes. Never Imagine Dragons and never J-Lo and never anything, not J-Lo, but whatever girl stuff Nora likes to listen to, which is mostly No Doubt and Hard. Sally makes her listen to good.
Yeah,
but I can only listen to that one No Doubt album so many times. And I like it. I don't want to listen
I'm
to it
at a
again,
weird point where, like, so Levi only wants to listen to Iron Maiden. And Avi, well, I mean, I love Iron Maiden to a point.
But
the problem is that, like, Avi only wants to listen to, like, some of this pop stuff. Like, there's this pop artist, Sabrina Carpenter, who, like, has a bunch of songs out. I get to the point where I'm like, I'm going to be honest, I would rather listen to Sabrina Carpenter than, like, the same 3 Iron Maiden songs. Because there's a certain... There's an easy listening quality to like this pop music where it's like, I kind of like the production of this, the melodies are cool. I love Iron Maiden, like they're one of my favorite bands ever. But like, there's a certain energy level that I'm not ready for at 7:15 in the a.m. You know, and so, or he wants to hear like Metallica or stuff. I'm like, look, I get it. You're 13. I was 13 once, and like,
yeah.
But I'm just like,
I'm not subject to the energy level argument, but
neither one of you guys. You have to understand, there's only one stereo in the car.
We're listening to Yanni. We're going to put on Yanni, and we're all going to love it.
That's what I do. Like, I put on, like, Corey Wong or some other, like, kind of, like, funky jazz kind of stuff. I'm like, look, this is what we're listening to because you guys couldn't get along.
Now, with Nora, it's, like, High School Musical, and, she's like, can we watch, like, The Greatest Showman again? I was like, I'm not watching that movie with you. I'm not. That's
a you and
mom moment.
Descendants and stuff like that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she loved all that stuff. And
dude, that song "Chillin' Like a Villain" is a total jam. So
haven't really absorbed that one yet.
Well,
I'll get back to you when I do.
Some of the stuff in that little Disney Channel pop, like mostly it's kind of pap, but then every once in a while you'll be like, wait a minute.
This is there's
actually really good.
Zombies versus werewolves or something like that.
Oh,
There's like
zombies.
Two of those movies.
We're into zombies.
I know a bunch of those songs. I could sing some of those if I heard them, but I don't invite it. It's just, it's around.
No, and then like Levi gets in, he's like, "Can we listen to Megadeth?" And he's like,
that's funny. Yeah,
half the time it's not like they're not even on the same page. They're not even in the same book. You know what I mean?
Right. A lot of times I just listen to podcasts in the car. I was like, this isn't kid appropriate. Let me turn this down. Just turn on some Tom Petty. That'd be okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that's usually what I'll do. I'll put on like Journey or Toto or some sort of like classic band.
Yeah. I do. When the kids were around, I listen to a lot of classic rock. I just put on those stations. So I've actually I never had this before. I got Sirius. I got XM in my truck, and I really, really like it actually. Like the music stations are great, man. Yeah, they're super good. I don't know, never had it, so I didn't understand it. Never used it.
Yeah, I had a free trial when I bought my car. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a work truck, so it kind of works out that way. I don't know if I'd pay for it on my own, or I would greatly reduce it to like nothing, but to like just a couple stations I like if I could. I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Hey.
All right. We're calling it.
Look at this. Yeah, this should be the podcast fan page.
Let's decide what that stands for. All podcasts are crap.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Define. We'll get back to you next week. I don't know if this should be the podcast fan pages listening.
I don't even know who that is.
I think I do.
Did we figure
I
that
could
out one time?
I could probably text him personally if that's it. And if it's not him, I'm gonna be
There are
real
literally
embarrassed.
2 people watching now. It's hilarious.
uh,
Why are you watching?
I'm gonna give him another minute, see if he responds, so we know. But hey, we got a lot of comments this week. That was nice.
Yeah. Who knew that trashing the presidency was going to be a popular thing? Oh yeah, the last however many
Like,
decades.
yeah, right. That's not anything. We're really thinking outside the box here, Dan.
Yeah,
Someone doesn't like the president's thoughts and ideas. We should talk about that.
it's only
Whatever.
50% of the
But
country
still,
at any given
nobody does it. This is an interesting stat. We should look up here. I'm interested. What is the average length of podcasts episodes? Average length podcast episodes. No, that's not what I mean. No, the average length is 43 minutes. That's not what I meant. Average
time.
number
Engagement
of
time,
podcasts.
maybe.
I don't care about how many. Wow, the average podcast gets around 27 listeners per episode. Again, that's not really it.
So that was a depressing statistic to read.
Are you kidding me? We only got to get up by another 25, and then we're meeting the average of freaking podcasts.
That's
a. I feel like
200,000% increase. No, what is that?
we can do that.
If we were both more bold to be able to like share this more on our personal page and tell people about it instead of being scared of being canceled, then
I'm really not scared of being canceled. I just need to figure out how to do it some more. So as soon as you want to do it, I'll start promoting this thing some more.
well, I have a day job.
Well, I mean, I have a day job. I mean, I could figure.
Yeah, but you're
this
the
would be a
boss.
nighttime thing. Well, yeah. Oh, you think that means I have more free time? Wrong,
right. No, not
wrong,
free
sir.
time, but like,
Oh, well, I'll put the edited version up here. Okay. All politicians are cants.
see you next Tuesday.
Those cants. Okie dokie. Noted. Too many acronyms out of there. Oh man, wow.
I forgot how it goes.
That was pretty close. That's
That's a callback, ladies and gentlemen, to our deliverance comment from last week.
Yes, if you didn't watch last week's episode, you really missed out. I don't even know if I listened. I don't think I listened back to that one. I should.
I gotta
Dang,
make sure I didn't
didn't.
say anything stupid.
It's too late now. It's out there. It's out there. The one person who listens, they know. All right. I think we're going to go.
Yeah. All right.
You good?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
Good night, sir. Squeal, piggy. Squeal.